First off, welcome everyone
Hey.
to this episode, this episode of Notes with Jack, episode 10. My name is Alan Fox, and I'm here with the winner of the 2002 Mr. Abbott Award from the
Oh, yeah.
Stage Directors and Choreographer Foundation. Now you have
Yeah.
to help me out. What exactly is the Mr. Abbott Award?
Oh, this is a great story.
Oh, it's Jack O'Brien, actually. I didn't tell them. It's Jack O'Brien here. He was the winner. So go ahead.
It's a reward given by our union, by the STC,
Okay.
for an exceptional person. I'm going to it next week. It's happening next week. Jeremiah, do you remember who it is? Yes, you do. He runs. Never mind.
It's all right. We'll figure it out next week.
We will. But anyway, it's great. It was named for Mr. Abbott. I'm the last person who worked with Mr. Abbott.
Is that right?
I met him when I was directing Damn Yankees, which was my first big musical that I transferred to the East Coast from the Globe. Yeah. And I did a lot of work on the book, which they did not let me have credit for. They paid me another way, but I couldn't be part of that setup.
Yeah.
Mr. Abbott was 105 when I met him.
Wait, hold on. So I'm gonna actually reveal my lack of understanding of it. Who is Mr. Abbott? I think I know.
God.
But yeah, no, I know. It's a big deal. Like, this award is a huge deal.
George Abbott was the premier director, writer, fixer of Broadway for 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
He produced everything. He directed everything. He wrote everything. He was 6'2", brilliant blue eyes. He would go dancing at Roseland on the weekends with two Latina women. It took two of them because he danced so brilliantly, and he would not. And they were like, they were at the table. Okay.
Sure.
Well into his 90s, he did this.
Wow.
Yeah, it was astonishing.
Yeah.
He also, if you look at the photographs, in those days, in the 30s and the 20s,
Yeah.
the directors wore suits and ties and hats.
Yeah.
They dressed like bankers. It was extraordinary. So he eventually, excuse me, eventually, he married this woman who was she was a Hawaiian woman, Joy, her name was, and she was they were golfers, and he played golf well into his 90s too, and they lived in Florida. I met him when he was 105 years old.
Holy cow! So wait, what year was this? You're doing Damn Yankees.
This is 19. So I went to the Globe in 81, 82, 83.
Okay. He's 105. You're doing this at the Globe.
We do it at the Globe. I mean, a producer, Mitchell Maxwell, came to me. Oh, it's in the book, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm directing Othello, and my partner, Tom Hall, business partner, comes in and says, "Would you like to do the revival of Damn Yankees?" Well, it was something from my childhood that I'll never forget. That's one of the first musicals I saw in the round at Clio tent when I was like 17 or something. It blew me away. Yes, of course I want to do this. He said, "You got to get on a plane tonight and fly in to see the composer and meet with George Abbott." And I said, "I'm directing Othello." He said, "Well, they don't know their lines. Give them a day to learn and get on the plane and go." So I got on the plane with the script. I opened the script. It's terrible. The script is dated, unbelievably dated.
Yeah, sure.
And sexist, unbelievably sexist.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, I can't do this. So I get off the plane, and Mitchell Maxwell and his sister were driving out to see the composer, who's the only one in that crowd that's still alive. Mr. Abbott's still alive. And I said, "I can't do this." And he said, "Well, have the meeting, and maybe he'll let you work on it." No. Now, I can't. I'm afraid to do this because I almost have to do this.
Yeah.
Mr. Abbott, what happens when you're 105 is your face collapses.
Right. It's a pretty good George Abbott impression you got there.
So this is what you get.
Right.
And you can't tell whether he likes it or he doesn't like it. That's it.
And so I'm facing this massive idol who's, the greatest man of the first up to 20th century in theater, right? And I tentatively go through this thing. I wonder if I can tell this story. I guess I can.
Yeah, there's not police for this.
Okay. And everyone's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, almost gone.
Tell it how you want to. Spice it up a little.
No. I don't have to. I don't have to spice it up.
Where were the two Hispanic women? Were they at the meeting? Like,
No. This is earlier.
Yeah.
So now he's down with Joy, his wife, and in Florida, and we're having a drink, and he's in a wheelchair, of course.
Sure. And you're bringing in Damn Yankees, the script, and you have some changes.
I'm simply saying I have a problem, Mr. Abbott, with some of it. I think some of it stated. I mean, the problem, I say politely, Mr. Abbott, is that you probably know women buy more theater tickets than men. And you have at the end of the scene, the Joe Hardy, who's become made a pact with the devil, is now a young man, has an affair with Lola. Whatever Lola wants, right?
Right.
That's Gwen Verdon, who is the hottest thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He goes home in the last scene as an old man. And his wife says, and I quote, "Don't tell me where you were. I never want to know." And I thought, we can't do that. You can't do that. No woman, respectable woman, is going to want to sit in the audience and say, "Oh, that's great." So I said, "I don't know what to do about this." Silence. And it goes on for a long time. And I thought, well, we're dead in the water here. And then suddenly, when I think, well, I guess this is over, we hear him say, "I know how to fix the ending." You do? How do you do that?
Hire a fat woman.
I'm not kidding. Excuse me?
Hire a fat woman. Because they're so lucky to be married, they don't give a damn.
This is true. We don't know. I don't know what to say.
Well, folks, Jack O'Brien has officially canceled George Abbott at the age, at 30 years after.
No. Here's what happens.
Yeah.
They said, my producer said, "Well, Mr. Abbott, if Jack wrote a little bit of updating it, would you be allowed?" Now, George Abbott thought I was some phenomenon in terms of technical things. He thought that that's what I was going to do. I don't know where he got that idea. So I went home and wrote 18 pages. And
on the script?
I rewrote the script. I started over again. And staying in my house in San Diego at that time is Victor Garber, who is making the movie Titanic in Mexico and has nowhere to go. And he doesn't want to stay in Mexico on the weekends. So he comes up and stays with me. So he said, "What are you doing?"
Right.
I said, "I'm doing this thing." He said, "That's really funny. That's really good." I said, "Is it?" "Yeah." He said, "I'd like to do this." And that's how he got cast in it. So we sent it, and Mr. Abbott never said no. And then we got ready we finished, we were going into rehearsal, and they summoned me up to the Catskills, where he and Joy always had the summer place forever.
Yeah.
And I sat with that gentleman, who was 105, for 5 hours, going over every line in the script. And he had to approve them.
Yeah.
And I got my teeth into it as you know how this happened.
Of course. Yeah.
And I decided at the end, Joe and Lola shouldn't sing Two Lost Souls. We're
Yeah.
two lost souls on the highway of life. It's a great number.
Yeah.
But they sang it in the original. And I
Sure.
said, it should be the devil and it should be Victor Garber and BB Newirth should be singing that together.
Sure.
And he didn't want me to do that. And we argued back and forth. And finally I said, well, I can't, that's it. I can't make it work.
Yeah.
And he said, that's it. That's over.
I mean, that's it. That's over.
Right.
And we thought that was over. We were going to lose the show.
Yeah.
And then he said, it's 105. He said,
Yeah.
if he doesn't believe in it, he can't make it work. It was an astonishing thing for an author creator to say about a smart ass young guy. He called me the kid. I was 60 at the time.
Yeah.
Right. I was the kid. I was.
Right.
So we did. I pulled a really fast one.
Yeah.
I said to him, Mr. Abbott, wait a minute. Let me just say something. We have a free look at this at the Globe.
Mm-hmm.
Come out. Let me do this. If you hate it, we'll just do yours. We'll just flip it and use your script.
Yeah.
Well, what was he going to say? No.
Yeah. It's your move. You said it a few episodes ago. It's your just try it. What if we just try it?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. You know, nothing intended. Okay.
Yeah.
So he came out.
Yeah.
I did the show. They carried him into the theater on the opening night, Ken Dennison and I think Tom Hall, because he couldn't walk. And they carried him in, and the entire audience stood up. It was unbelievably moving.
Yeah.
Unbelievably moving.
Yeah.
They sit him down. He would go through the show. It's a smash. The audience stands and cheers. It was great. It was the beginning. It was the whole beginning of another part of my career.
Yeah.
So the next morning, I said I would go to the hotel and get his notes. And then there I am with my little notepad, ready to. They wheel this huge dining room. He's in a huge suite.
Sure.
So he's sitting at the end of a table, this tiny little man, and I'm waiting. I said, I've come for my notes. He said, what does it matter what I say? They stood, didn't they? The implication was, if it's better than what I've got, I want it.
Yeah.
He had done, when he was 100, he'd done a version of that show at Paper Mill Playhouse because it was like an annuity. It always worked. And it didn't work. It was Orson Bean and I don't know who else playing the devil. I don't remember, but it wasn't a success. And he was stunned because it had always been a success. So he knew something was wrong. And I fixed it. Yeah. And he ate it. He took it. Yeah. And then I didn't get any credit for it. I got paid on the side somewhat, but not. I wasn't I wasn't part of the rights. Yeah. And then he died 2 years later out of anger. He had 2 more years of anger with me. Really? Oh, I think so. But he made a lot of money. Right. I mean, you know, he got all the junk. He got it all. Right. And Jerry Lewis finally took over for Victor Garber and went on the road and went to London with it.
How did you because I'm really curious because, you know, I've had experiences as well where I've seen people say certain, like I've just, this experience of being with people that you look up to.
Oh, yeah.
And then seeing how you being right almost puts the scarlet letter on you in regards to them moving forward. And what I've learned from that is this is a lesson in how I never want to treat people when I'm them. Do you know what I mean? And I wonder how you took this, you know, is that what you're thinking when you're sitting across from your idol? You know, they say never meet your heroes. It's like, and it's always like that. You meet, and there's always this sort of young buck, older buck sort of coming head to head. And then it shakes out in a way that always, at least for me, has always been this exercise in, oh, I don't ever want to become that.
I don't think I've become that.
No, I don't think you have either. I'm wondering if that experience keeps you in a place of humility.
I don't know about humility. It sounds a little grand. I
Right.
mean, my thing is, is I just keep going ahead.
Right.
I just keep moving on,
Right.
and I'll do anything. That's a bit broad. Almost anything to keep going.
Yeah.
Because I think the truth is so evident when it's right.
Yeah. Well, even Jack, I'm thinking now about with ghosts, right? You start getting feedback from your actors and actresses, and you start hearing something about something that you had, really believed in a certain way, but the humility that you have, and maybe that sounds too grand, maybe that's the wrong word, but you just being open to, what am I not hearing? What am I not? That's what you said you learned from it. I'm still not listening.
I had this whole thing about them starting with scripts.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then ending with scripts. But I mean, it was to show the audience how we work.
Yeah.
It starts flat, and then it gets a little better, and then suddenly you're into it.
Yeah.
And suddenly you forget that there was a script.
Right.
And then at the end you have to think, it's just a play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There was a whole sort of, yours and my favorite word, symmetry involved in all of that, right?
Sure.
Then I found out that the actors were getting told outside of the theater on the subway,
yeah,
you're carrying script. Didn't you learn your lines?
Yeah.
The audience didn't get it.
Yeah.
They thought that they hadn't learned their lines. And it's very popular right now that you can read a script for a lot of money on the stage and people pay money to see it and they don't learn the damn script.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. So I had to take that out.
Yeah.
I made that my choice.
No, but also the way you handled it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, that validate the way you did it, because George Abbott sits across from you in his palatial Titanic-like suite and says, they liked it, didn't they? Or whatever, he said. Whereas you're coming and you're talking to me, and I know this is how you're treating the actors and the actresses and the people in the production. You're being like, you know what? I eat this one, my bad. Let's figure it out. Here's what we're doing. It's there's just a different way to go through life. And that's what I guess I'm saying I've learned in my experiences like that.
I had 24 hours of not panic, but real sadness.
Yeah.
That I was that far off the mark. And that I couldn't make this work, because that was the whole raison d'etre. That's why I wanted to do the play in a modern way that the audience didn't think it's an old-fashioned production.
Yeah.
I wanted them to go with me, to descend into it as we learned it.
Yeah.
It seemed like a good idea, but it wasn't communicating. But I found a way to keep it.
Yeah. And
then what was really interesting, I eliminated it. They start with the script. They mumble. They got two false starts. And they get better and better, and suddenly they're doing the play.
Yeah.
And the play is over. And originally, I wanted them to have the scripts at the curtain call.
Yeah.
Throw them on the desk. The lights come up, and they walk out scot-free.
Yeah.
And I killed that. I said, we won't do that.
Yeah.
The actor said, no, we love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they insisted I put it back in.
Yeah.
So you're on the right
know.
side. You're on the right side of the angels when that's going on. You do.
No, for sure. I'm curious because again, I'm thinking about myself, right? I've this experience of working with someone that you've looked up to has happened to me multiple times. And every time there's that pushback.
Not today, right?
No, not today. No, not today. Not today. That was a good one. When that initial pushback comes, do you remember how you processed when George Abbott first said, okay, we can't do that? Do you remember the ups and downs of that emotional journey of wait a minute, I know something's wrong here. How come my hero doesn't see that? Because aren't you the God here? Can't you see that there's a flaw, that there's a problem?
But yes, I understand what you're saying, but this is what is interesting about you and me.
Yeah.
We're 50 years apart.
Yeah.
Mr. Abbott and I were even more.
45. Well, if he's 105 and you're 60, 45. So it's not that far apart.
So it's not that far.
Not that different.
But that he was a sexist. That was a different time.
Right.
Men didn't. Here's another story.
Yeah.
There's a fat comedian, forgive me, there's another way of saying full-size woman comedian, famous comedian named Thelma Pellish.
Mm-hmm.
Thelma Pellish she was a George Abbott actress.
Yeah.
When a show was in trouble out of town, he would get Thelma Pellish on roller skates and push her across the stage and save the scene.
Got it.
By making fun of the scene.
Yeah.
Years later, she reads, when she's much older, she reads in the paper a part for a Thelma Pellish type. She goes in. She said, "I'm Thelma Pellish." He said,
Yeah.
"Well, we don't want Thelma Pellish. We want a Thelma Pellish type."
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God! You know, the
Yeah.
worst. Anyway, that was who they were. Those
Right.
men, they treated women like chattel. They were not equal. They took advantage of them.
Yeah.
It's in the wood.
Yeah.
He couldn't see that another
Yeah.
way.
But
He couldn't make that jump.
Yeah, but I'm curious, sitting here talking to you as someone that I actually do look up to, I'm curious how you arrived at being someone at 85 that is willing to ride the waves of that. Because most people can't, if, like you said, it was a different time, right? It's like everyone, by the time they get to 85, lived their 40s and 50s in a different time. The world has always been changing like this. Yet you and I talk all the time about different, whether it's racial stuff or sex stuff or gender stuff. It's like we're always saying, "Oh, isn't this interesting?" Right? But not that I need to cling so tightly to what I perhaps used to believe, and not that I need to cling tightly to what everyone's saying now. I'm allowed to be sort of fluid with how I navigate these types of issues. And I'm just curious because I haven't met, I'm not just making this up. I have not met someone your age like you that is so curious and willing to keep swimming with the stream. That's a gift, and it could have been given from nature, I don't know, or it could. I'm always so curious about that about you.
Okay, this is a bad answer. I keep doing this. It's like I'm sick. I'm not. This is the only answer I have.
Yeah.
All my life, I've had the unbelievable luck not to be with average Joes, but I was able to get in the room with major people all my life.
Yeah.
My career started with those men and Miss Eva Le Gallienne, John Houseman, Ellis Rabb, Stephen Porter, Alan Schneider. Those are the top guys, and I'm a college kid.
Yeah.
And they had this little company, and they could only afford to have one guys. They paid me nothing, and of course I got everything from it. But I was always in the room with masters.
Yeah.
And I never thought I was that good. In that way, I looked at them and thought, I'm not in it. For years, I directed as if in the style of Ellis, or in the style of these, like a magpie. It wasn't until like the late 70s at the Globe, and I know exactly what it was. It was Midsummer Night's Dream, when the theater burned down, and I suddenly was in a ballroom instead of a little tiny sort of rehearsal room, and my imagination went wild, and I became a director. It started. I got myself into the show somehow.
Yeah.
And it was stunning. It was so good we revived it. It's still one of the best pieces I ever did.
Yeah.
Even when I did Porgy and Bess, I was this completely white guy who had no business being there. But I knew that. I said that. I told them that.
Yeah.
I didn't pretend to be something I wasn't. Because honest to God, Alan, I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
I thought I was serving the work, but I didn't think I had that. I didn't think I was that. I'm still sort of not trying to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Because I know I am gifted. Of course I'm gifted. I wouldn't be working at 85, 86 on Broadway if I couldn't do this. I can do this.
Yeah.
And I understand it now. I've had all this experience.
Yeah.
But it was always under the aegis of really amazing people. Mike Nichols.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tom Stoppard. These are huge people.
Yeah.
And they taught me. I never pretended to be them. And so I grew up sort of under the shade of the big guys, so that I never really thought it was me.
Right.
And as a result, I was just trying to make the compromise to keep going,
Yeah.
and realized that's the secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop. Don't make it about you.
Yeah.
And it's never about me.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's what I mean. I love in what you just said, what I love the most is when you said, I always thought I was serving the work, right? Whether it's, if you're writing,
That's right.
you're serving the idea or serving the muse. If you're directing, you're serving the work, you're serving the character. It's like that idea of serving something that you believe is bigger than yourself. That's true in in the very religious sense. It's true in anything in life, of serving something that feels bigger than yourself.
But when we did your play, it never occurred to me that you weren't better than that.
Right.
I mean, I was serving your play.
Right, of course. Yeah.
And I never, when the actress was saying, rewrite this, it doesn't work for me, I was in a towering rage.
Yeah.
I thought, how dare she?
Yeah.
You're the guy that we're here to deal with.
Yeah.
And I've always believed that.
Yeah. But but you know what the problem was in that, man? And this is what's so interesting. And I wrestle with this a lot because because of my upbringing, because of a bunch of different factors, I'm wired like you, where I am the great compromise master. And sometimes, like from directing from a theater standpoint, that could be a superpower. As a playwright, that may not be the same superpower, right? It's like how to balance that, because I ended up, and we know this, in that experience, I erred way too far with compromising with, certain people involved. And so you lose the thread of what the piece is, right? But again, that even to me speaks to humility. The fact I can now look at myself and say, I thought I was being a good guy.
But you were. No, you were.
But
I didn't get it. I thought I was taking my cue from you. And I thought I couldn't believe that you were being treated this way. And I finally went out and reamed her out and said, how dare you do this? But she didn't get it. She was terrified. I mean, there's always a reason.
Yeah, of course.
I really don't think that people start out to be assholes. I think it's a non-negotiable position.
Yeah,
and you suddenly find yourself being in the asshole position because that's the only you have nothing left.
Yeah,
I never not have something left.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I said that so many times. There's no way around me.
Yeah,
I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to quit. I'll be there with you. I'll get you across the line.
Yeah,
that's my job.
Well, I remember last episode. I've thought about this since you said it. You were saying that you were tired because of how much you were helping actors and actresses get to the place they needed to get to, right? And I understand. You know what I mean?
I wanted to say about this in this session.
Yeah.
I just realized that until 2 days ago, I had the blues. Yeah. I never get the blues.
Yeah.
I had the blues because I was so saturated with the pain and trying to find the truth and making it work for these kids who are so brilliant. And they were sort of depending on me to sort of shine the light, keep going. This is where it is. Yeah. It was like I was like in 5 channels of pain.
Yeah.
And there were 4 days or 4 or 5 days here where I did dick. I mean, I couldn't read. I couldn't finish a crossword. I just sort of sat there and thought, who am I? This isn't like, I'm not like that. I never do that. And I finally shook it. I finally got out of it.
Yeah. Do you think whenever I have those experiences, I always think to myself, oh, that's the price. That's the price of the ticket. That feel like that for me, that catharsis after after you have the baby is like, oh, all that pain, all that stuff that I now feel myself releasing. That's the price of being able to do it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm sure that's true. But I also know that over the years, and maybe it's because I never really thought I was anything more than a factotum. I mean, somebody who was really trying to help to make it work, but not on a level with the writer. And now I realize that because I'm at the age I am and the experience, I don't stop anymore. I just don't stop. I just keep
Yeah.
going. And so I'm operating at a level that I didn't really understand existed 30
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah. Well, and also I just want to point out, because we've talked about it in this session, you're also a writer.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? It's like you just told a story where you rewrote one of these, and you'd written other, we'll get into it someday. It's like you've written other plays. You won an award in college for a play. You've written a musical. It's like you've done all these different things. And it's
Yeah.
just interesting though, because I think that, I don't know, man, I wrestle with this a lot. It's funny, man. I was in a relationship one time with this girl, and she was like, do you think that you have to be some of these, really difficult people to be great? And I didn't know, because I had met all these people, and I'm not saying this just to blow smoke up your butt. You're the only one I've met that when I met them, it was like, oh, they do it at such a high level and they feel good. And that's half the reason I want to do, you know what I mean? It's like you meet and I know you've done this too. It's like, we're not talking bad about anybody. We're just stating the truth. So
No.
often to perform at a certain level, you meet people and it's like, man, they're just kind of tough. And that doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means it can get really dicey, but there's something valuable about living your life in the right way and doing it in the right way, which is, that's one of the ways you've inspired me. And I know you inspire other people.
The other thing though, Alan, is as you achieve more, you are then in competition with yourself.
Right.
And that funny Woody Allen line, I liked your early work. Your early work is really because it's innocent.
Yeah.
You don't have anything but a tabula rasa ahead of you, and and suddenly it's good, and then the world says, "Can you do that again?" And look at the actors who get stuck in certain roles, and they play the same part.
Yeah.
We're seeing it on Broadway right now with people who are trying to take chances and stretching themselves and putting themselves out, but they haven't done the work for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So they don't have the equipment anymore.
Yeah. It's very dangerous to take chances on Broadway. The chances you have to be ready. You know what I mean? It's like you can't be taking your first chance there,
And I'm watching peers of mine, people who I'm close to, who are now cannibalizing their own work. They're putting versions of what they did before onto the stage because it worked then.
Yeah.
And they think that's the answer. And you think, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You invented that. You can't repeat that.
Yeah.
You got to keep going,
Yeah. Well, that speaks to everything I'm writing about in the project that shall not be named right now, about the robot. But I am obsessed with this idea of where we're going, not just culturally, but also artistically. And I think because it's gotten so expensive to make things, everyone is cannibalizing what worked before to try to figure out what happens next. And I just kind of think the future is actually going to be a third rail that no one kind of sees coming. Like
I think that's absolutely. I think that's right.
That'll be the great breakthrough.
You have to face everything as if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
You just have to start and say, how do I turn myself on?
Yeah.
How do I?
Well, that's a great segue into maybe 2 minutes very quickly, because what I want to talk about is, how do I face something like I've never faced it before when you're about to go into Shucked, which you've kind of been facing for the last 3 or 4 years? What's that process like as you look to, because when do you leave? A week or two?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll be heading to London.
4th of April. I'm going for like 10 days, and then I come back, and then I go back again.
Okay. So
that'll
I'll
be
just
fun.
say we'll jump into.
Well,
it'll be
I'll tell you
we'll
what.
jump into it more next week.
I'll tell you
just a teaser.
I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
I get now to do this with the Brits.
Yeah.
So I'm now like draping the fabric on a different person and saying, how do I make her beautiful with this material?
Huh. Well, with keeping that in mind, I got 2 things to tell you from the podcast's biggest fan right now, my mom. Well, I can't speak for other people, but I think she's the biggest fan. All right. The first thing she said, this is about Shucked. She said her friend went to see a performance, I think in Durham.
Yep.
And loved it so much. She's already bought tickets to go see it again in Charlotte. So that's the shucked. She said, make sure you tell Jack. That's one shucked teaser. The second thing, here's her question as you go off getting ready for rehearsals in London. She said, will they speak with British accents or Southern accents? So you have to.
You want an
tell me
answer?
on that.
You want an
I
answer?
want an answer. Yeah, to wrap up the pod, I want an answer.
It's a different world. We now we do a British play. We all talk like this.
Yeah,
And everybody says it's not very good.
Yeah.
But you say it's not American either. You know. I had this characterization by myself here at night when I'm alone with the dog, and I get ready for bed, and there's this person who starts to start talking to me like this, because it's like having my own valet who says, now, Jack, pick that up now, for God's sake, and get yourself to bed, and have you brushed your teeth? You know?
Right.
The whole characterization. And I like this guy. I don't know who.
Coda's just like,
Coda's,
we gotta invite Marsha over for a drink.
Coda speaks. She gets it. But what I'm saying is they're the same way. They watch television. They see the movies.
Yeah.
So what we found was they're fine.
Yeah.
Do we hear it? Not quite. In the way that then when we do British, they don't quite buy it.
Yeah.
But that's the world we're in now. It's over. You got people in China dressed like we do.
Yeah, no, of
that
course.
used to be different. Even when I was a kid, you could tell what people were, little Dutch people with little Dutch things and little clogs and stuff. No, they're all in Levi's now and T-shirts, you know?
No, of course. But here's what I'll say to wrap up. Being the resident kid from a small southern town, I'll be the judge as to whether or not their southern accents are good, all right? I'll be the one to choose that. Okay. All right, well, Jack, that was amazing. We'll wrap up here, and we'll pick up next week. We'll talk more about Shucked. I want to talk about directing musicals. I really love to talk about that, just how you look at it. You've told me some really great things before, but I'd love to dive into that as you get ready for Shucked. So
they're all different. They're all different.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of it, man. You got to start like you brand new or whatever you said. Start like you've never faced it before.
That's exactly right.
Love it.
All
right.
What does it need from you?
Yeah. How can you help it?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. All right. Love you, Jack. Thank you so much. We'll talk next week.
Off we go.
Off we go. Bye.